What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nebraska Hawks Nest. Make sure to give all the videos a like and give us a subscribe so you can get all of the latest updated interviews from all of our Iowa Hawkeye legends. And the one legend that happens to be stopping by today is Julian Vandervelde. How's it going, man?
It's going great. It's going, outside, spring's here, days getting longer, weather's getting warmer. So I'm starting to feel it, man. This is a great time.
Hey, man, dude, you haven't looked like you've aged a day. You look just like you did back in your playing days, man.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I feel like I have less hair than I ever have, and I definitely got some grays now. That's why I got to keep it short.
Oh, shit. We all do, man. I do. I've been getting them so bad in my beard. It's insane. It's just, especially the last couple of years, it's like, come on, I'm holding it together like as best as I can. And like that crap's not making it any easier. So I got some little ones in the background. How many kids do you have right now?
So we got 3 kids. We got an 8-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So we spaced them out pretty good, but they are the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old are cohorts. They feed off of each other, and they are both just absolute monsters, which is great to a certain extent. As long as you get 2 parents, you can always be man-to-man coverage with them. As soon as you get into zone, somebody gets open, and then there's problems.
Yeah, we have 3, and it's our middle and our youngest. Whenever they get going, it's flipped upside down, and it's just like a freaking rave. I'm like, they're blasting the stereo, like wrestling on the floor, throwing toys, Nerf guns. It's like, man, like I don't ever remember like just letting it loose like that when I was a kid. Like I had fun and I went outside, but I didn't treat my parents' house like a frat house.
No, did you have siblings though?
I did, yeah. I had two brothers, and I was mostly outside, like playing basketball, playing football, like doing things outside. And when we were inside, it's like you keep it together, otherwise mom's gonna get pissed off. And I think our generation of parents is just way more laid back than the previous generations. I don't know why it works out that way, but it seems to be, in my opinion, everyone's a little different, but kind of a generational thing that it's just like most parents, because I'm fairly close to your age, and it seems like most people I know are just like, so much more patient than my parents were. If I would have done half the crap my kids did, I would have gotten my ass beat. So
it's because we remember the trauma of our parents beating the crap out of us when we were bad, and it's just like, I don't know if I wanted my kids to remember me that way.
That's what I always tell my wife. I'm like, we need to remember that in 20 years from now, when they're away from the house, I want them to have good memories of growing up.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be like, I remember when Dad like spanked the hell out of me for doing this, and when they yelled at us for that. I'm like, I don't want that. Like that is not what I want them talking about when they're adults and they decide to get together for a drink on a Friday night.
Right. They're going to pick your nursing home, man. You gotta treat them right.
Shit, I'm hoping to avoid that altogether. But that's that they tell me now I can move in with them if I'm just like not holding it together. That's what they say now, but who the hell knows? Like that could completely change. So you just hope they end up marrying somebody that you like. And
no kidding there.
You're old when you start to think like that. That's when, or like if you see a young girl like dressed scantily clad, you're like, oh God, if my daughter ever wore that, I'd kick the crap out of her. Where it's like, and then I think I'm like, okay, that's now I know I'm old, because the young me would have been like, ooh, now I'm like,
you're like, that's somebody's daughter, young lady. You put some pants on. Like that's
exactly. I feel bad for her dad. I'm like, God, that poor guy. What the stress he must be going through. But anyway, we'll quit. I getting off on a tangent with you here a little bit, talking about your personal life. But it's awesome to hear that the family's doing well. And you've been married for a while, right? You guys aren't newlyweds. How many years?
We've been married 8 years.
8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I knew that. Where did you guys meet? Because I thought
Yeah, that's a long story. So we actually met in high school. We were on the speech and debate team together. One of the many multitudes of things that I did in high school was forensics. So we were duo interpretation partners in high school. So we were on kind of the same speech team, if you will.
Okay.
And then we completely lost track of each other after high school. We each were dating somebody else at the time. Lost track of each other completely. And then found each other again my sophomore year at Iowa. And then my junior year, we started dating and just kind of rolled from there. Once we were both single, hit it off again, and the rest is history, as they say.
It was meant to be.
Yeah,
it's true love. I love it. That's a great story. I love that, man.
Storybook ending. Yeah,
it's a tale as old as time. Let's go back.
I don't know if I'm Beauty or the Beast. Am I in that scenario? I don't know. Don't ask her. Don't ask her that question.
You can be a beautiful beast. That's okay.
There you go.
There's nothing wrong with that. On the offensive line, you need to be a beast.
Yeah, wrong.
We're gonna dial it back to the very beginning, coming out of high school, the recruitment process. I'm always fascinated to hear about this. I want to know who were your top schools that were really coming after you, that you were evaluating, potentially would go on visits, and how did your thought process go, and how did you narrow it down to end up choosing the Hawkeyes?
Well, I think I always knew I was going to be a Hawk. I grew up when I was like 8 years old. I remember going. My grandmother lives in Iowa City still. And we would go watch Iowa basketball games, and I would say, I'm going to go to college at Carver Hawkeye. That's what I thought it was you just went to school there. And so as I kind of grew up, watching the great Iowa teams, I knew that this was where I wanted to be. And it came to the point where in high school, I was effectively being recruited. I think it offers from like Georgia Tech and Kansas. The big one, the one that my mom, I think, still wanted me to choose was Stanford. So Stanford wanted me to come and play defensive line. I went to a camp out there. Don't get me wrong, beautiful campus, and the California weather is hard to beat. But they wanted me to play defensive line, and this was before Harbaugh, so they were awful.
Okay.
And I didn't have an offer from Iowa yet, but in my head I was just weighing: do I want to go play defensive line at Stanford on a scholarship? Which, just thinking about that, is insane. Like, Stanford offer you a scholarship, and you're like full ride, and you're considering between that and walking on at Iowa to play offensive line. Like, that just, it doesn't compute. But thank God Iowa did end up offering me. And I think, I didn't even realize it happened when it happened. We went up for a visit, and me and my mom and my stepdad were sitting there across from Kirk Ferentz. And I was so like awestruck to just be in a room, like in a private meeting with Kirk Ferentz, that when he effectively offered me the scholarship, I didn't even realize it. I thought he was just saying like, hey, we're considering you. And I was like, oh, hey, I really appreciate that. Go talk about it as a family, and take this into consideration, and hopefully, I can impress you guys some more. And left without really saying anything. And my mom, when we got in the car, was like, you do realize what just happened, don't you? Like, yeah, Coach Ferentz, that was awesome. She's like, no, they offered you a scholarship to play football here. I was like, and I didn't say yes. Why didn't you tell me that's what was happening? And the whole car ride home, I freaked out. As soon as we got back to the house, the first thing I did was dial them back up. Was like, I'm so sorry. Yes, I accept. I'm coming. So that was fun.
That's a great story. And you're not the first guy that's, we talked to Cole Fisher last week, and he was very academically driven, and he had an offer from Stanford too, and went out and visited. And he was like, man, I mean, I wanted to be a Hawk, but that was a hard place to turn down because it's so beautiful out there. And, you come out of school, if you're not going to go to the NFL, which most college players don't, you're going to have a degree from Stanford University. It's like, you're pretty well set at that point. And to come out from Stanford with no debt, I mean, how great would that be? I mean, oh
my gosh. I was happy to have come out of anywhere with no debt. I mean, any scholarship you can get to any college to play any sport or sing or dance or do whatever they offer you a scholarship to do, like, is just such a huge blessing, especially in this day and age. So I'm thankful for that.
I wish I could have had one. I'm still paying off my student loan debt. So
we're working on my wife's too.
Yeah, chipping away at it, man. It's just like every time I'm like, I think I'm making some progress. And then I get online and I look and I'm like, oh, I'm not really that much. So I don't know. We'll get her done someday. But when you're in college, you don't think about it. And like, I just want to have a good college experience and have fun and get my degree and get into a career. At least I wasn't counting the dollars and being like, I'm going to have to pay all this back. I'm just like, I'm going to cash that Pell Grant check. I'm going to, buy some food and spend it at the bar and have a blast. So it's
the best years. That's what it's for, though. You're not simply, it's like the last time in your life that you have minimal worries, really. before like real responsibility kind of checks in. So you gotta enjoy those years, man, for sure.
Oh yeah. Did you have the opportunity to have much of a social life playing football? Did you and the guys, were you able to go out and have beers or do anything like that? But did they keep you pretty locked down?
No, there was a lot of socializing to go around. I was and still am and was long before that a huge nerd. So like the bar scene was not my scene. I didn't really go to parties. I didn't go to house parties. Never really went out and did like bar crawls or anything like that. Like when we had friends come up into town, we might go out to the bars for night because it was kind of a special occasion or something. But I was a part of the Japanese Cultural Association. Me and a group of friends from my Japanese class would play Dungeons and Dragons twice a week. So like I never had a chance to go out and have that kind of traditional college lifestyle, because for me the perfect college experience was it was my first chance. I've been a huge like Japanese culture buff since I was about 12 years old, and so for me that was my first opportunity to kind of engulf myself in that culture. Because Iowa, a lot of people don't know, but Iowa has a really, really good Japanese language program.
I didn't know that.
So I got really into the Japanese language program, the Cultural Association, everything. It was a lot of fun.
Did the guys ever try to pull you out to the bar and say, like, Julian, get out here and let's have some drinks? Because usually offensive linemen are known for being able to put down some beers.
Oh yeah, and I could. Don't get me wrong. I could. That was back in those days. There wasn't a lot of time when we weren't playing football. But like I had some friends who had a heavy metal band here in town locally, and they practiced at this place called the Band House. And we would have these, all night, just cramming 120 people into this 4-bedroom or this 4-room apartment, like a kitchen, a bedroom, a bathroom, and then like a side room. People spilling out onto the roof of like the little side shed that thank God didn't fall down the whole time. And we'd go through probably a case of Bud Light a person, in a night, and like pass out there and wake up. They were incredible parties, but again, you had like a 2-week span where you could do that. So it was kind of like, this is time to let loose, because the rest of the year, like I'm not a freak athlete by any means, right? You get to some of these guys, you get to the NFL, especially, it's like borderline superheroes. So for me, it was all year, every year, thinking about football and, staying in the strength conditioning and staying, in shape and eating and drinking right, just to kind of be able to compete at that level with those guys. So when I got those little spurts of time, man, I really went off, which I'm sure my liver will thank me for someday. But thankfully, I've learned better by now.
What was the most challenging part of transitioning from a high school player into the University of Iowa and becoming a part of that football program? Because they call it tight end U, but it also kind of gets called offensive line U too. It really produces a lot of NFL caliber offensive linemen. What was your toughest transition, do you feel like?
I think it was just very strict in terms of what was expected of you. I come from there are some very, very good high school programs in the country. Mine is not one. Davenport Central, we're getting better, certainly. But when I was there, I think we won a total of 5 games in my 4 years. Okay. So we were not, we weren't a football school. That wasn't what we were known for. We were a performing arts school, right? Our band was really good. Our orchestra was really good. Our choirs were nationally recognized choirs. We were consistently high performing, like show choirs and stuff like that. So that's where the focus was. Not in athletics. So to come from a program that really was pretty loose in terms of its structure and not very successful, to come into this program that, especially in those days, Iowa coming off of going to the Orange Bowl against USC and the catch against LSU and all these great teams that had kind of built this legacy since Kirk took over. Having a weight that you had to hit. Having these really structured, rigorous, really intense workouts. My first day there, I came in and I was like 325 pounds. And I think they just ran me the whole first practice. I probably threw up 3 or 4 times.
Looks like we might have lost Julian there for a second. We'll hold on here for a second, see if he pops back on in. Really had some interesting stories though so far, that's for sure. There we go. Let's check. He just messaged us, so we're going to see what's going on here. Oh, looks like his computer crashed on him. So we are going to bust this out into a 2-part interview, and we'll be back. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Go Hawks.